Hello and welcome to the Edge of the Earth podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Jarman, and today we are continuing our discussion with Joe about the evolution of superhero movies. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I was having a discussion the other day with somebody. We were talking about Wolverine and how Hugh Jackman has played him, for a pretty long time now.
Right. And
we were talking about how much longer he could actually go on playing Wolverine. And we know Hugh Jackman doesn't seem to age. He's kind of like Keanu Reeves, like he doesn't grow old. But so that actually had brought to mind another deal. They've got that Pee Wee Herman movie coming out on Netflix. It's a brand new one. But the actor who plays him is actually like 62 now or 63.
Yes.
And if you see him in person, like he was on a talk show recently, and he was I think it might have been Kimmel, but anyway, he was talking about how they do digital retouching now.
Right.
And that's kind of one of those hidden secrets or trade secrets in Hollywood. And they made him look much younger for the Pee Wee Herman movie because he didn't feel like it could work as a 62-year-old Pee Wee Herman. Right. And so I don't see why they can't do that with Hugh Jackman, especially if it's worth it because we know him, we're familiar, we love him, and he's perfect for that role. Right. And so I think that may be used a lot more going forward. It is expensive, but...
It is, and to touch on, back in the very beginning when Hugh Jackman was first cast into this role of Wolverine, people didn't like it because he was too tall. He wasn't short, stocky, ferocious, this, puck-sized little superhero. He was thin and he was tall. He was muscular in ways, but a lot of people didn't think they were going to like him. But he brought something to that character from Hugh Jackman's, point of view that made that character work, regardless of size or whatever. It was he that turned that tide to make people like that, and now it's one of the most popular characters out there, like you said. And I think if Hollywood holds true to form, before they start messing with the visual aspects of it, they may go in and make it a storyline where he is older, and he may age 1 year for every 100 years. I don't know the math on that. But if you were watching real close in the Captain America movies, he was actually in that time frame. He was during World War I or World War II. He was in that whole genre, in that same age group, visually aged. And I think before Hollywood turns that whole corner and starts aging him, or de-aging, if you will, then I think they're going to do a little bit older storylines where all the other mutants or all the other characters are the younger ones coming in, and he's still older, but he's not ancient yet. If you've watched the Planet of the Apes, the newer movie, the actor, and forgive me, it's one of my favorite movies so far, but the actor that played Smeagol also played the character, the Caesar. He was they put little green dots, and on that little green dots, that's how they were able to bring such fantastic visual effects on that face of that ape. Well, I think that's kind of what they're going to do of what you're talking about. They're going to put these little green dots around his face, and they're going to be able to make him younger, whether it's just a little bit or a lot. And the technology, like you say, it's visually touching up. But they're going to have to he's going to have to wear those little green dots throughout the entire movie if they want to make him younger. And, instead of having all these prosthetics, which I'm sad to say they're going away from. I think physical prosthetics and I think physical special effects are what made movies great.
Yeah.
Hanging Tom Cruise upside down on a zip line as opposed to, shadowing him later and putting this stuff behind him. Get that actor out there. He was hanging on the side of a plane. Yes, great, fantastic. And God help him, he survived. And the Oscars were showing some of these different deleted scenes where, if you were to go online and look up Christopher Reeve's Superman behind the scenes, he and Margot Kidder were suspended by a crane and the cityscape behind them, and then the flowing with the air blowing in his face and everything else. It's kind of a mixture of the two, which that would be good too.
Yeah.
But don't just rely on everything on CG. I mean, put the prosthetic on, put the costume on. Don't just airbrush it later. The Martian. I haven't seen it. I know. I've got 2 kids, so it's hard for me to get out. Anyway, The Martian. There was actually one scene in The Martian that instead of Matt Damon growing a beard, they CG'd the beard inside the helmet. I know. Wow. I know. It's crazy. Anyway, because you can grow a beard, not in their time frame, not that much. So what are you going to do? Put a prosthetic on? No, let's just brush it in.
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea they did that.
Yeah.
But I guess with a helmet on, you can't tell as much anyway. But I don't know. But so to kind of tie a bow on this, we've got the X-Men movies that have been coming out. They've just kind of rebooted that. They're getting ready to reboot Spider-Man. Well, not really a reboot. I don't know if they're using the same actor, but I know he's going to be in the new Captain America Civil War.
Right.
And so they've got that going on. They've reached this age now where they're tying all their characters together instead of keeping them all individuals. And this is a smart money-making plan, and it's smart for the fans and story and everything. So DC's doing this. They're going to have, I think it's going to be a massive 2-part movie for the Justice League. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to have the Avengers, and they're going to be meeting up with the Guardians of the Universe, or Guardians of the Galaxy, rather.
Right.
And so it's all going to come together. Yeah. And they're rebooting Fantastic Four for yet another time.
Which they needed to.
And
I'm sorry.
They said it's going to be darker this time.
Well, darker's better than what they tried to do. No offense, they tried it. It didn't work. Move on.
Yeah.
They've got the Black Panther. They've got Iron Fist. They've got the new Daredevil on Netflix. They've got all these different things. Power Man or Luke Cage. They've got all these diverse characters. Whether it's a TV special, whether it's a movie, whether it's cameos like on The Flash. They had Hawkgirl, they had Hawkman, they had some of the villains that they're pulling from different universes to showcase them, to say, okay, there's not just one possibility, which is great, because again, comic books are for an imagination, to pull on those strings instead of pulling on your purse strings. Let's pull on your imagination strings to see what they can come up with.
Yeah.
So,
and I know a lot of these comic book writers, they're getting actually hired on. I mean, the superheroes now are kind of like our modern day lore. I mean, we don't have mythical gods or anything like the Greeks did. We have superheroes that we acknowledge they don't exist, but we create them and we pretend they do exist in a way in our minds. And so going back again, I just talked about seeing Deadpool last night. And Deadpool is so different than any comic book movie we've seen thus far. Marvel's really gone out on a limb on this one, and it paid off big time. Everybody's loved it so far. I thought it was good. I wasn't blown away by it. Some people said that it was much better than anything they've seen so far, and I wouldn't go that far, because I still think that Ant-Man was funnier for me, because I'm used to seeing Ryan Reynolds as this cocky, college guy who's leading all the groups of leading all the
frat brothers out to do something crazy.
Exactly, yeah. And so I'm not used to seeing him be genuine. And so Paul Rudd, he's a genuine guy, and he naturally goes toward comedy. And I feel like his role as Ant-Man was a little bit the comedy was more from the heart than it was with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan is great at this sarcastic, crude humor type thing, and they drop the F-bomb a lot in Deadpool, a lot.
Which brings me my question to you. Do you think that they should make 2 different versions of the superhero movies coming out, i.e. rated PG-13, rated R? And if so, should that affect the... because it's easier to do. It's just editing and, rereading the script one more time, or rereading the scenes one more time to get that R, as opposed to getting that PG-13. And yes, it may take a little more time, but do you think that 2 sets would be good?
Are you meaning a special DVD release of 2 versions, or theatrical runs for both versions of the film?
I would, as easy as, I say easy, and no offense, guys, whoever's out there doing their whole editing, and I know it's very hard and everything, and you guys are fantastic at what you do, but in my mind, it's easier to do it today than it did 10, 15, 20 years ago, is make the two versions for the big screen. That way, that these kids, that are growing up to get into that, can see that on the big screen and say, wow, one day I'm going to have my work up there. I want to see my work on the big screen. Whereas they don't have to wait until they're 18, 19, 20 years old to experience that whole, fantastic sound, 3D, all these. Yes, you can get that home. Absolutely. But it's different. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different setting. It's a different experience all the way around.
Yeah. Well, for Deadpool, I would say no, just because his whole story revolves around like payback, sarcasm. He cuts a lot of people's heads off. He stabs a lot of people. There's blood everywhere. There's gore everywhere. And so even if you take the language out and edit it down, it's going to be really tough to pull it off with him. With other movies, I would say sure, because now you're going to run into the issue of if you want to combine the X-Men with Deadpool now for sort of a prequel thing, because they killed Deadpool obviously in the Wolverine Origins movie.
Did you watch the end?
They didn't
kill him. He actually, at the very end, Easter egg, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, at the very end when they fell and Logan fell off the other side and Deadpool fell into the middle, at the very end, Deadpool's character came out of the rubble and was reaching over for his head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go back and watch that. It's awesome. They throw these things at the end.
Okay, so then you got that. So then how are you going to combine the PG-13 X-Men with Deadpool? Are you going to? I mean, are you going to bring Wolverine in? I would like, me personally, not reading the comics or anything like that, just seeing the movies, I would enjoy a rated R Wolverine, where he just gets to shred people.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think they should, not necessarily, maybe not the same movie. Maybe they took this PG-13 direction on this movie, or like the upcoming Superman versus Batman movie. They're toying around with the R version because it was such a big hit with the Deadpool. So there are so many variables, like you said. How much killing, how much language, how much female body parts are being shown, because Yeah,
there were a lot too.
So yeah, there's all these different things, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a good idea, bad idea. So that's probably another podcast down the road. But on this particular one, I think the progression of superhero movies, I like the whole rivalry. The whole rivalry between DC and Marvel, I love that. That makes each camp
better.
Pull out the stops.
Yeah.
Do a better job. Get your writers in there. Get your talent off the street if you have to. These imaginations that are coming out today will blow anything away. They'll take you down roads that, Alice would not, down the rabbit hole where Alice never wanted to go. And bless his heart, Tim Burton, if he ever goes in and does another superhero movie, I would sit down and watch it. He has a definite mind. His directing style is fantastic, but some of the movies are kind of out there. Not that they're not good, but they're just out there. And I mean, that's a specific audience you're looking for. And I think he did a fantastic job with Batman. I'd like to see him get another opportunity with another, superhero.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to my last point here that I want to make, is what demographic we're aiming for. With Deadpool, it's a whole separate demographic than the Avengers people.
Absolutely.
But Avengers, the first movie, was third highest grossing overall, right? I mean, and then Deadpool had one of the highest or largest openings of all the Marvel movies. So you got two separate demographics, but they're both pulling huge numbers.
Right.
So maybe it's not different demographics. I don't know. I mean, you can't bring your kids to... you could bring your kids, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it. But Stan Lee was definitely on board with Deadpool and the content. I mean, he was totally for it.
He was in there. He was in Deadpool.
Yeah, he was.
He is in every single Marvel movie. If you don't know where, go back and look. But he's been in every single one. Until the man kicks the bucket, and it may be even after that, because they'll have holograms by then. But he's been in every single one. But I agree with you. I think that the demographics, you have to step back and But Hollywood, yes, they have their job cut out for them because there's so many directions that they can go. They're going to do spin-off movies with Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Cyborg, just so after the fact, which in my opinion should be before the fact, maybe show them on the CW or show them on one of these other television programs to say, lay a little bit of groundwork first, because these people coming in and going, who's the guy with the wooden eye? We don't know who that guy is. We got to figure out who he is.
What did you think of Smallville while we're on the subject?
Smallville.
That's a pretty famous Superman one on the CW.
It was. I'm enjoying going back and revisiting Smallville, and I really like the fact that they put him through normal life situations with an extraordinary amount of power. It's just like Gotham right now, if you're following Gotham. Before they were superheroes' life, I think that gives them a stepping stone and a working block, if you will, to expand that fan base and to expand that, what are you doing with this? And wow, that's pretty cool. Instead of throwing in, and I haven't watched very much of it, but instead of throwing the superhero in at the beginning, like Supergirl, boom, you have your powers, congratulations, you're wonderful, you're a superhero. No. This kid's growing up. He's in high school. He's not only got to deal with his powers, but he's got to deal with Jenny for the prom, or he's got to deal with, Billy because he's bullying me and he can't use his powers on him because, that wouldn't be fair because he's being raised with ethics and he's being raised with, ideals instead of just, I'm a superhero. I can do what I want. No.
Right. Yeah. Well, all this together, on the whole, it's a good thing because the film industry, for the past maybe a couple decades, I don't know, they seem to be running out of ideas for movies, and now we've got all these comic books, and so that's all the ideas. And these are great creative minds that have created something out of nothing, really, or taken a universe and crafted characters, kind of like the Star Wars deals, where they've got independent authors who are making books for so many years after the original 3 movies ended. Yeah. So we're not going to run out of ideas anytime soon.
No, and I think that you're correct, and not just the Star Wars Megalotron monster that it's growing out to be, but like the Star Trek and the Doctor Who and the different things like that. I think that if you take those storylines and go in a different direction than what they started, maybe that would be something that Hollywood can look at instead of, like you say, rehashing the same. Okay, Superman's coming in. He's going to win the day. Yay, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe Superman didn't win the day. That whole storyline where Superman died. Okay. That might be something to refresh something a little bit. Or in Batman's case, where Bane, back many years ago, Bane broke Batman's back, and he had to fight his way back to being Batman. Where they've had 2, 3, and again, I apologize, I've been off the circuit for a while, but 2 or 3 Robins killed. Follow that storyline. Find out, okay, what happened? Why? The Joker, in Gotham, you've seen snippets of what who the Joker is, and why he is the way he is. He's not just somebody that was thrown into a loony bin and turned out, no, in the original with the one with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was the thug. He was, in that storyline, the person who killed Bruce Wayne's parents. And karma got back to him, and he fell into the vat of acid, and he became lunatic Joker. There's different things. Instead of just dropping him in as a whole character, figure out why. Yeah. Start there and work your way through. That's enough movies to last, till movies aren't here no more. Instead of just dropping them in as a whole. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate it, and hopefully you'll be able to come back soon. And we've got plenty of other topics I'd like to cover with you, especially independent filmmaking. Absolutely. We're both heavily involved in that, and there's a lot of advice that you've given me over the years and input, and I think that a lot of people can hear that and also take your advice as well, and things like that. So, thanks for coming on, and we will see you again next time.
Had a great time.
And I'd like to do a couple plugs real quick. You can check us out, www.jeffjarman.tk. You can find us on YouTube, The Jeff Jarman Show. You can find my Twitter at JeffJarman55. Joe, did you have anything you'd like to plug real quick?
Not that I can think of. Use, and I know this is never a good forum for things like this, but if you have the time and you have the ability, do some research, get out there, use your power, super or not, vote. Okay? You've got a chance to make a difference. I know it may not seem like it, but at least try. Don't let it all go to just one person making the decision. Get out there and make a choice, okay?
Yeah, I think I saw something about like 2/3 of the population of younger people said their vote wouldn't matter. And they were 2/3 of the group.
Oh.
So, yeah, so definitely, especially this year, I think it's more important than ever. So
Yeah, do some research. Take a minute. I know it takes away from other things important like gaming and listening to our wonderful podcasts, but take a few minutes. Watch a debate or two, even if nothing else to laugh at them. But listen what's going on. Make a choice.
All right, and thank you all for listening. We will see you right here next week at the Edge of the Earth.